so I wasn't aware that was wrong. But then there was other areas that after I received him, I would get a check about, and I would change. So that's growing in the atmosphere of this world, which we're all in the darkness of this world, each our own way, each our own experience. And then when it came to work, there was always something available. But then there was a way to make fast money and big money. It took a little work, but not like the hard labor of work I was used to. And I went that way, probably a year or a little more. And then it involved a group of people. And I reached back out to Yahweh. I was not happy, even when I was making, enough money that wasn't a problem. Well, then I ended up turning from it, and I gave up the work. And it was about 6 months after I was seeing things like them really prospering and me somewhat struggling to make ends meet in right ways. And in that time, they got busted, and they all went to jail. And they gave them my name, and they said I was among the leaders. And you know what? They didn't prosecute me because they didn't, whatever Yah put it on their heart, because they did also see, and Yah, I'm sure, is behind it, that I no longer, for 6 months, I didn't have involvement in that illegal way to get money, and therefore I was redeemed by Yah. I didn't get put in jail or involved in that problem. So I know what it feels like for a short period in my life to live that kind of life. But guess what? What I found in prayer, in my getting back close with Yah, that He said to me, don't worry about the work, the jobs, because I didn't know what I was going to do for work. He said, I'll bring them to you. And that's what happened. And what I ended up doing was care providing people in their homes, and I went through that season, and actually it was a wonderful way to have an income, because I was free to enjoy life with others and knowing I was earning my money. And when I started out in that, for years I got paid like not much, not very good pay. And then I got involved with people who weren't getting their money through the government, and having to take what they could, have in home care. And I connected with people who really paid me proper money for the work, and then that turned out to be available whenever I really needed it. And now you really convicted me. I was thinking about the struggle that I'm having being a salesperson, because in the in my criminal life, I saw the corruption of what people paid for something compared to what the real cost was. And then at MATC, I took my economics, and I saw that, well, it's okay to persuade people who had the money to pay to spend it. And it's really to people what's valuable to them, how much they're willing to pay. And so I looked at the product, and in the type of people I'm around, a lot of my life, they didn't have the big money. And so, that part, it's all connected to the confusion I'm dealing with right now, actually, about getting out there and pushing to, and I don't think that's the right word, but really investing my time, knowing how to do it, because I do know how to do it, but I'm resisting because of all the things I've just talked about, all mixed up. And to see now that what we have to offer people is real. What is hardest for me is I can help people who have the money, but I'd rather be giving it to the people who don't have the money, so they can get out, get healthier and get their minds thinking. So that I gotta let Yah straighten out my thinking in that area. But I do know in my whole life, Yah has taken care of me. And even when I was alone with 5 kids in that season, the work He had for me came to me. And guess what, Rox? You're in my life, and for some reason, you've handed me a way that I can prepare, because I always thought of preparing. I did things. When I was young, I started saving jewelry. I had a whole suitcase of jewelry that was going to be for my young days, my old days, when I came retired, which is now, and it got stolen. So wow, okay, so it doesn't work. And then I've always been one to be sure I have beans and rice and staples that at least would keep not spoil and could be there, because in my mind I knew there was coming times that you run short and you need to have it. And I just knew that this is part of what I would live to be involved with. And I'm being changed by Yahweh, and my thinking's becoming clearer, that I just have to trust that He'll have the people there, and there will be, income for whoever Yah wants me. I don't want to just sell it to the rich, hook them up. I want to hook people. I want to help people grow. And then on top of all this changing, and by the way, I believe I'm being prepared to get out there with this product. I just got my pass or whatever you call it. My Senior Seekers card now pays for Planet Fitness, and Yah says to me there's people in there that will be interested, and I have to just let him bring those right people to me as I obey and be where he wants me to at the time he wants me. So he's working on me more in that area. And I know that you saw the possibility long, long before me. But you didn't know all the things I had to work through inside of me for that attitude adjustment. Because I know what it's like to have a lot of money, too, for a short season. And it wasn't what answered, what I needed. It wasn't the answer to life. But the answer comes in knowing that we're living in Mount Zion. And, when the world is going to be hurting so bad, we will be in that place that we have what we need. But I didn't think that we'd have to prepare for it. And that's what doing a business that really is helpful to people, investing in seeds. By the way, my son, that's what he's doing. And he has trouble with his faith. He had a lot of things to go through because he had to deal with a father that was very evil, and to, work out all those issues. Anyhow, he's on the right track, and his daughter, Naomi, do you know she wanted to talk to me, and the reason before she got what her church, her multi-mega church calls baptism, because she wanted me, because they had about 40 people get this, and some of them had who they wanted to go in the water too and be the one to baptize them, and she wanted me to do that. I didn't, because I got there in time, to see it, but I wasn't there. I didn't get a hold of her in time to be that one. So I said, guess what, Naomi? I explained about it was a cleaning. I have trouble with the pronouncing of the word, so I just told her it's a cleansing, and that we'll do it. I'll be doing that at another time. She's got a lot more to learn yet, more explanation. But her fiance, Alex, he's really has a heart after Yah, and it's beautiful. The two of them came home with me, and they have their business going, and he's got a lot of creative, natural things he's producing, making, and she's doing stuff too. And they asked me to help them market it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to get in line here, because I see a future for them, and you got to connect with them, because I believe, you can help lead us, but I know I have to step up and do my part in this business stuff. And I know I can do it, because I did it. I started as a little kid when Dad was teaching me, when he put me on the corner at about 9 years old with a bushel of beautiful flowers on Memorial Day between two-way traffic, and people would purchase that stuff. I mean, just taught me business stuff. It's in there. It's me. I went the wrong way with it. And so I don't want to be wrong, so I've completely avoided it. But now I believe I'm ready to step up. And that's part of my purpose in life, so that I tie in a little bit of Rick Warren's message. Life's different than what I saw it as a child, and each experience in life I went to, it became a little bit more different, because when I went the wrong way, which Yah allowed and protected me through it, so that I didn't go in prison, which I deserved to. I deserved to there, because what I was doing wasn't for the good of all people. It helped some people get money in their pockets, but it didn't help people get closer to Yahweh. So I guess that was almost a confessional or something, but it's not going to a pope. I guess I'm telling the whole world when I do it online. So it's been over 7 years, so they can't come back at me and get me anymore. So hallelujah, long over 7 years. Not 70, though. Okay, Father, thank you that to learn your purpose, we go through events in life. We go through failures and successes. But you say to choose success. So today I just want to stand up and say, I choose success. And as you lead me, and like Rock, I have to have that time with you in the morning to get that direction. And then wherever I go, I can possess the land because it's yours. And I will see your goodness. You didn't create me to be spectacle about it. You didn't want me to pick up the bad ideas I did. So now I ask that you clean them out of me, and that you help me to do my part in the building of Mount Zion for the end times, and in whatever part in your kingdom, let me fit there and let me do it. And I'm praying that for whosoever will. And as I heard Seth's heart, his heart is there, and I lift him up to you, and I thank you that you will take care of those things that's held him back from walking completely in the way you have him. And I thank you that you brought Rock and Stan through all the things they've been through, and that you're going to continue. And all those that I've met this weekend, when I was thinking of the list of people that Rock told us to write, I simply had to, it was simple because everyone I put my eyes on is somebody I'm supposed to help. Everyone that I get involved with, I'm called to give a true message to. So, hallelujah. I just come in agreement with your plan for your body. And thank you for letting us be born at such a time as this, so we can see the great exploits of of your coming, the great exploits of the plans you have for each one of us. And may we be strong in the power of your might, whatsoever will, in agreement with you, whatever you will, Father. Amen.
makes me happy? And who is he that makes me happy? And who is he that gives me peace? And who is he that brings me comfort? And turns the bitter into sweet, stirring up my passion. And who is stirring up my passion? And who is rising up in me? Who's filling up my hunger? Who is filling up my hunger? With everything I need. Creator God, He is Yahweh. The great I am, He is Yahweh. The Lord of all, He is Yahweh. The Rose of Sharon, He is. Rose of Sharon, He is Yahweh. The righteous Son, He is Yahweh. The three-in-one, He is Yahweh. Creator God, He is Yahweh. Creator God, He is Yahweh. The great I am, He is Yahweh. The Lord of all, He is Yahweh. The Rose of Sharon, He is. Rose of Sharon, He is Yahweh. The righteous Son, He is Yahweh. The three-in-one, He is Yahweh. Sing His name. Yahweh, Yahweh, who is he that makes me happy? And who is he that gives me peace? And who is he that brings me comfort? And turns the bitter into sweet, stirring up my passion. And who is stirring up my passion? Who is rising up in me? And who is filling up my hunger with everything I need? Who is he that makes me happy? And who is he that makes me happy? Oh, give me peace. And who is he that gives me peace? Who is he that brings me comfort and turns the bitter into sweet? Who's stirring up my passion? Who is stirring up my passion?
Alrighty, Shabbat Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom to those who will be watching with us. The name of the sermon today is called The Other Side. We live in an alternative reality. People believe in the temporary and not the eternal, or the reality. And I've said this many times, whatever you focus on becomes most real to you. And to most, the normal society we live in today is their only reality. And in essence, everything we're seeing today in Satan's society is actually not reality, because very soon it will never be there again. And the reality is the opposite of it in the kingdom of Yahweh. And I'm understanding, I've always understood for 40 years now, being in the faith, Satan has deceived the whole world. But, when you first come to faith, you realize, wow, the whole world is keeping Sunday, and Shabbat is the Sabbath, and the whole world is keeping Christmas, and it's pagan, and we're supposed to keep the Hagim of Yahweh. But actually, in the last few years, particularly with COVID, I'm understanding this deception in a way, way bigger way. As we're seeing, everything, every single thing you see in Satan's society, everything you see in the news, everything that's happening is completely in the alternative reality, which is falsehood. And where we really see the truth, in the kingdom of Yahweh, hardly anybody sees it. So again, the name of the message is The Other Side. And I want to show you today several things that happen to every single human being that could help us get to the other side. So I'm going to start in 1 Corinthians 3 and verse 11. 1 Corinthians 3 and verse 11. It says, "For no one is able to lay any other foundation beside the one having been laid, who is Yeshua Messiah. And if anyone builds on this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, grass, straw, the work of each will be revealed. For the day will make it known, because it is revealed in fire. And the fire will prove the work of each what sort it is. If the work of anyone which he builds survives, he will receive his reward. And the one whose work shall be burned, he will suffer loss, but he will be delivered, but so as through fire." So we know now we're going through that baptism of fire, and we have to be purified through it, right? But we know that in Satan's world, everything will be purified through fire. The whole earth is going to be purified through fire. So everything that is not part of the eternal is going to cease to exist. It just won't be there anymore. And people will remember it. It'll be like it was never there. So that's the point of it, that all the temporary will be gone and only the eternal shall remain. So if you're living in the temporary and your whole reality is only the temporary, when the kingdom comes and all that's burned up, what are you going to have left? Because he's saying here, every one of us is going to have something burned from our life and our memories. But if the only thing you have is the temporary, what will you have left? You'll have nothing left. You won't be able to be in the kingdom of Yahweh. 1 John 1, 5 through 6. 1 John 1, 5 through 6. It says, "And this is the message which we have heard from him, and we proclaim to you. Elohim is light, and no darkness is in him. None. If we say we have fellowship with him and we walk in darkness, we lie and we are not practicing the truth." So I gave a whole message from darkness to light. And that's why I wanted to start here, because this is a good thing to show you the other side. There's no such thing as darkness, right? What is darkness? Darkness is simply the absence of light. It's that simple. So how, though, can you ever truly know what light is and the importance of light unless we're allowed to see darkness? So let's say, when Yahweh returns, and there's no darkness, or let's say before the earth was, right? Maybe in heaven, there's no darkness in heaven. How would the cherubs, how would they even know what darkness is when they've never seen it before? If I gave you a word, ling, and I say, well, you don't want to be ling, you want to be the opposite of ling. Well, what is ling? We don't know. It isn't something. We don't know what it is. So because you've never seen it, you've never heard of it. The same way that the only way you know what darkness is is that you've seen darkness. But there is no such thing as darkness. Darkness is simply the absence of light. So as long as you have light, there is no such thing as darkness. It will never be there, right? But again, how could we ever know what light truly is unless you've seen darkness? Darkness is simply the absence of light, which is Yahweh's presence. That's literally what it is. And that's why in Genesis, when the world is being created on day one, right? Yahweh said, let there be light, and there's light. But the sun, the moon, and the stars that give light in this world were not created till day 4. So how is there light without the sun, moon, and stars? Because Yahweh is the light. As long as Yahweh is there, Yahweh's presence is the light. And darkness is simply, it's the absence of light, but it's the absence of Yahweh's presence is what darkness is. And we can only really appreciate Yahweh's presence once we pass through darkness and come into the light of Yahweh. Darkness is not reality. We pass, in the end, into Satan's world. In Satan's world, the darkness is going to pass. John 3 first. John 3 in verse 19. John 3 in verse 19, it says, and this is the judgment, that the light is come into the world, and men love the darkness more than the light, for their works were evil. For everyone practicing wickedness hates the light, and does not come into the light, that his works may not be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, and his works may be revealed that they exist, having been worked in Elohim, right? So most in the world, they don't want to leave the darkness to get to the other side. But there's no way to get to the light unless you go through the darkness. You have to go through the darkness to get through the light. And that's why when Yahweh created the world, how did he create it first? He created life first in darkness, right, in the mother's womb. He created the night first, the evening before the morning. Because you have to go through the darkness if you're going to get to the light. Because we're born in darkness. We're born in Satan's world. Everyone is born, like I said, in darkness. We come out of our mother's womb in darkness into this world. But every single human being also has opportunity to pass through the darkness and come to the light of Yahweh. Darkness is not a reality. It will pass in the end, like I said, in Satan's world. So once you get to the light, you should never see darkness again. And Yahweh allows us to go through the darkness because we wouldn't understand and we wouldn't appreciate the light unless we went through the darkness first. Revelation 22 and verse 5. It says, and this is talking about the end, right after the millennium is over. And Yahweh the Father comes down from heaven and says, and night will not be there. There will be no more darkness. And they have no need of a lamp or a light of the sun, because Yahweh Elohim will give them light. And they shall reign forever and ever. Wow. So, I think this is a good place to start in this sermon, because I really want you to understand this, even if you have to listen to it 2 or 3 times, because it's really, really important, because it affects every one of us. And the problem is that we're not going to the other side in many instances. And I think for some people, maybe you don't know how to get to the other side. But I think starting here with light and darkness is a really great example, because we can see it. We can understand, yes, of course there's no such thing as darkness. As long as there's light, there's no darkness. And Yahweh is light, and Yahweh's presence is there. So if Yahweh is there all the time, you would never have ever have seen darkness. But unless you went through it, how would you really know what light is? And how would you know how important it is unless you went through the darkness first? But in the kingdom, there'll be no more darkness, because the purpose will be fulfilled to draw the people to the true light. So I was thinking about, the reason why I was thinking about giving this message was because during COVID, people just kept saying they want to go back to normal. I don't know if you've heard people say that. I heard it 100 times. I heard it on news. I heard people say it. Just, we want to go back to normal. We want to get back to normal. But the problem is, what people think is normal in Satan's society doesn't really exist. Like light and darkness, right? Darkness really doesn't exist. But yet the people, because their deeds are evil, they want to stay in the darkness. They'd rather have the darkness than the light. But what's going to happen when Yahweh comes and his presence is there and there is no more darkness? When, like we read in Corinthians 3, when everything that's not of the kingdom is burned up and the darkness will be one of them, where will these people be that only stayed in the darkness and never came into the light? So in Babylon, in commercial Babylon, everything is darkness. Everything is an alternate reality. And the problem is when you live in that reality day in and day out, and we're human beings and we have senses from our human beings, right? Our sight, our smell, our taste, our hearing. It can very easily, the darkness can become your reality. You know, the alternative universe can become your reality. And here it is, something, like I said, commercial Babylon, this thing we're living in now, and even in Satan's world, this is new. This is only about 70 years old from World War II. The world was never like this before. And actually only in the past 20 or 30 years is it really, with computers and internet and all the things, it really become what it is, the alternative universe now that really doesn't exist. Because in the kingdom there will be none of this. There won't be those dumb iPhones. There won't be computers. There won't be social media. There won't be any of these things in the kingdom. All the things that Satan's system now runs on. So we have to make sure that we're not looking to get back to the old normal, which really doesn't exist, but we want to get through that old normal to the other side, which is the kingdom of Yahweh. So now I want to show you 3 other things from Scripture and in your life that you need to get through to get to the other side. And these 3 are really, really important, because if you don't, these are 3 things that can destroy your spiritual life and maybe keep you out of the kingdom. The first thing is doubt. The very first thing is doubt. Matthew 28 and 16 and 17, right? But the 11 disciples went into Galilee to the mount where Yeshua appointed them. And seeing him, they worshipped him, but some of them doubted, right? Wow, here it is. He's resurrected. He's before them. And some of them are still doubting, right? Now, they're not doubting the resurrection because he's there. What they're doubting is, why isn't the kingdom there? They're questioning because their alternate universe, what they thought was going to happen, that Yeshua would immediately bring the kingdom of Yahweh, wasn't happening. So they were also in an alternative universe, a little bit different than what we have today, but still that. So they focused on what they could see, not what was reality, what they couldn't see. So that's why they doubted, because they're wondering, why isn't the kingdom here, right? Because they focused on what they could see, not with this reality, what you can't see. And that's the point you have to understand. Doubt is a cancer to your faith. If you have any doubt at all, you've got to get rid of it. But you have to go through doubt. Everybody in life, to one degree or another, has doubt at some time. You just can't let the doubt become your reality, because, wow, if doubt becomes your reality, you are really, really in trouble. If we go to Matthew 21, 21, 22, because what's on the other side of doubt? Matthew 21, 21, and 22. And seeing the disciples marveled, saying, how quickly the fig tree is dried up. Remember when Yeshua came, and he's coming over the Mount of Olives, and he sees the fig tree, and it didn't give fruit, and he said, you know, may you never give fruit again. And then they come the next day, and they see it all dried up. And verse 21, in answering, Yeshua said to them, truly I say to you, if you have faith, and do not doubt, not only will you see the miracle of the fig tree, but even if you should say to the mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, it will be so. So what is the opposite of doubt? Faith. So you have to get through the doubt to the other side, which is faith. Doubt is a cancer to your faith. The way to remove doubt is to focus on what you know, not on what you don't know, right? So we're not Elohim. We're not the one that made this plan, this 7-day plan of creation, 7-day and 7,000 year. You know, we're not the ones that are working all these things and what's happening in the world today. So praise Yahweh, he called us out of this world, right? He called us into his truth. He called us into his work. We're all workers in the vineyard. We're all ambassadors for his kingdom. But you know, even an ambassador doesn't know everything. An ambassador doesn't know the nuclear codes that the president knows, right? So what we have to do is, if there's things that you may not be sure of or you don't understand, you have to focus on what you know, not what you don't know. You know, in the first century, the believers believed Yeshua was returning in their lifetime. They thought from 30 AD, when he was resurrected, that there was going to be another 40-year wilderness period. And by 70 AD, Yeshua would be there and the kingdom would be set up. Well, what happened? No. He did. It was not Yahweh's plan. Yahweh's plan is 7, like he created the world in 6 days, and the 7 days of Sabbath, that he has 6,000 years for mankind and Satan's world, and then the 7,000 years is the millennium. But they didn't understand that. So when they saw in the mid 60s AD, 64, 65, 66, the things that were not happening, that they knew Yeshua wouldn't be returning then, many lost faith and they doubted. But they doubted because they, in their mind again, they were looking toward an alternative universe that just simply didn't exist, instead of looking toward the word of Yahweh. So what they should have been focusing on, because they saw Yeshua, they lived, they saw the miracles. They should have been focusing on what they knew, that Yeshua was alive. He lived there. They saw these miracles, what he did. He suffered, he died, and he was buried. And 3 days and 3 nights later, exactly like he said, he was resurrected, and he's sitting at the right hand of the Father. So if you focus on what you know, we know the word of Yahweh. Every word is true. Every word will be fulfilled according to how Yahweh said it. If you focus on what you know and what you don't know, you will get rid of doubt. If Yeshua, like I said, if he really was real, if he did all the miracles, if he was the Son of Yahweh, which he was, and he died and rose from the dead, we have nothing to worry about, right? Everything else is temporary, and everything will be taken care of in Yahweh's timing. Because on the other side of doubt is faith. But how can you truly know what you believe if you've never had doubt? Like when I first became a believer almost 40 years ago, of course I had doubt because I didn't know it. How did I get rid of the doubt? By proving it. By going to the Bible. By taking 6 months to a year of my life, day in and day out, and studying every single doctrine and proving to myself what is true and what's not true. By praying to Yahweh, by looking for understanding. So when you start, everybody has doubt. Because how can you come to faith if you didn't go through doubt? How would you know what faith is? Faith is simply belief. But how can you have that belief if you've never had doubt? Because the way you get rid of the doubt is through faith, through belief, by proving it to yourself. So you had to answer those questions. But once you come to faith, you never want to go back to the other side to doubt again. No matter what you have to do in your life, you better work out what your problem is. Because once you go back to doubt, there's no end to it. Like I said, it's like a cancer. The cancer may start in your stomach, but then it goes up to your lungs and to your heart, to your brain, whatever. But man, you don't want to have that. So the key now, as we're seeing also, is not that, the other side of darkness is light and the other side of doubt is faith. But once you come to the light, you never want to go back to the darkness. Once you come to faith, you never want to go back to doubt on the other side. The second point here of the other side is pain. Every single human being goes through pain and suffering, and it's a tough thing. And many times, I've seen it through the years. There'll be people that are strong in faith, they're good people, they're good believers, they help, they serve, and then they come to pain in their life. It could be anything. It could be the death of somebody. It could be losing of a job or house. It could be anything that comes up. But it could be health issues that they have. But pain comes, and they lose their faith through pain. So I want to show you this in Job 3. Because like I said, this happens to every human being. There's not a human being on this earth who doesn't go through pain. And you want to know something? The greatest leaders in the world are the people that went through the most pain. When you look at somebody like Abraham Lincoln, and today, right, he doesn't know it. He's sleeping in the grave. He doesn't realize that for the last 150 years that people are admiring him, what a leader he was and how he saved the country. But Abraham Lincoln was actually a very depressed person, a person that went through a lot of pain, the death of a child, many things, the suffering he went through to see the country torn apart. Can you imagine being the president during that's happening? But as we're going to see, there's something on the other side that helped him and everybody that goes through it. So Job 3, starting in verse 1. And after this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job answered and said, let the day perish in which I was born, and the night which said, a man-child has been conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not Elohim look on it from above, nor let the light shine on it. Let darkness and the shadow of death seize upon it. Let a cloud dwell on it. Let all that blackens the day terrify it. As that the night, let darkness seize it. Let it not be joined to the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Behold, let that night be barren, let no joyful voice come into it. So while he's actually saying on the night that he's born, instead of it being a great day and a wonderful day and everyone being happy, let it be the most miserable day in the world. Why? Because he's being born into this miserable world where he's going to have a life of pain. If we go to chapter 14 of Job, see a couple more things he said. Chapter 14, verse 1. Man born of woman is short of days and full of turmoil. He comes forth like a flower and withers. He also flees like a shadow and does not stand, right? Life comes and goes, and in between is simply a lot of pain. Go down to verse 21. His sons come to honor, and he does not know. They fail, but he does not mark it. But his flesh is pained within him, and his soul mourns over him. His flesh is pained. Like I said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what position you have, what prestige you have. And actually, the more money and position, probably the more pain you're going to go through. That's just a reality. But pain is something that our life is filled with pain, sorrow, and suffering in this temporary world. Remember Yeshua in John 16:33, in the world you will have tribulation. He said it just like he said, let there be light, and there was light. He said, in this world you will have tribulation, and we have tribulation in this world. There's no doubt about it. But he also said, be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. I have overcome the world, so we can go through it. You can go through the pain. 1 Peter 1 and verse 3. 1 Peter 1 and verse 3. He says, blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Master Yeshua Messiah. He, according to his great mercy, having regenerated us to a living hope through the resurrection of Yeshua Messiah from the dead, and an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, unfading, having been kept in heaven for you, while you were kept by this power of Elohim, being guarded through faith to a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time, wherein you will rejoice forever. But notwithstanding, so he's saying all these good things are coming right on the other side, but notwithstanding now, at the present time, you are pressed a little by the various trials that have come upon you, so that the proving of your faith, much more precious than perishing gold, but having been proved through fire, may be made manifest to praise and honor and glory at the revelation of Yeshua Messiah, who having not seen, yet you love, and whose faith you rejoice with exceeding joy that cannot be described. And you will receive the reward of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. So we can't give up. You can't give up during this pain. You have to get through the pain, the baptism of fire, because what does it build? It builds faith. And what's on the other side of the pain is strength, right? Is strength. So there's a saying, most people have heard it, maybe you haven't, but it says, whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger. It's actually really true. Because when you go through these trials, they don't only make you stronger for yourself, because they build faith. Through the trial, the baptism of fire, you are building faith, and that is what's going to make you stronger. The stronger your faith, the stronger your strength, right? Your inner strength. But it also helps you to help other people. Because as you go through these things, like I said, the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is feeling bad for somebody because they're going through something. Empathy is you can know what they went through. You feel the same thing. And this is why we have to go from pain to strength. You have to go through this pain to the other side of strength. Why? Because when the kingdom comes, in this world, you could help people, right? There's brethren out there that are going through the same thing. But in the kingdom, when it comes, all of us are going to be sent out to a world where there's millions of people that have survived the horror of the day of Yahweh and the horror of the nuclear war that came and the horror of all these things that went on, and they're not going to understand what on earth is happening. And we're going to have to go to them, and we're going to be a glorified spirit being at that time. Many of them will probably think we're some form of an angel or something because they won't understand what a glorified spirit being is. But they will think we can't understand them. We don't know what they went through, but we can tell them, yes, we do. Because we can tell them, yeah, we went through pain to strength. Whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger, but strong faith is the only true reality to overcome Satan's world. You have to do it that way. 1 Peter 4 and verse 12, a couple pages over. 1 Peter 4 and verse 12. It says, "Beloved, do not be astonished at the fiery trial happening among you for your testing," right? That's the way it is. The pain is there to test you, to make you stronger, as if a surprise were occurring to you. But rejoice that you participate in the sufferings of the Messiah, that so you may also rejoice and exult at the revelation of his glory. If you are reviled in the name of Messiah, you are blessed, because the glorious Spirit of Elohim rests upon you. For do not let any of you suffer as a murderer or a thief or an evildoer or in the meddler in the affairs of others. But if one suffers as a Christiana, do not let him be ashamed, but to glorify Elohim in this respect. Because the time has come that judgment must begin with the house of Yahweh. And if it first begins with us, what will be the end of those disobeying the good news of Elohim? And if the righteous is scarcely saved, what will the wicked and the sinner appear? Where will the wicked and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them who suffer according to the will of Yahweh commit their souls to him in well-doing as a faithful creator. Wow. So, how we build strength and purify ourselves and grow in the Spirit, how can we do this? You can't do it without pain. We couldn't build strength, but on the other side of pain is strength. If you didn't have pain, you couldn't build strength, but on the other side of the pain is strength, endurance, and unshakable faith. So that pain is giving you the patience and the endurance and the strength to build an unshakable faith. Romans 8 in verse 18. And it's not pleasant. It's never pleasant when you're going through pain. You could think about a toothache. You could think about physical pain or mental pain, mental anguish. But one thing is certain, once you get through to the other side, you do build strength. Romans 8, 18 through 25. He says, "For I calculate that the sufferings of the present time are not worthy to compare to the coming glory to be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly awaits the revelation of the sons of Elohim. For the creation was not willingly subjected to vanity, but through him subjecting it on hope, that also the creation will be freed from the slavery of corruption to the freedom of the glory of the children of Elohim. For we know that all the creation groans together and labors in pain until now." The creation itself is in pain. Everything's in pain. Why? Because Satan is the God of this world. And until Yeshua returns and brings everything back under Yahweh's judicial order, there's going to be pain. There's going to be suffering in his world. "For we all know that all the creation groans together and labors in pain together until now. And not only so, but also we ourselves having the first fruit of the Spirit, also we ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly expecting that sonship, the deliverance from our body," right? And that's why in the kingdom there'll be no more suffering, there'll be no more pain, because we're not going to be in a physical body. We're going to be glorified spirit beings and eternal beings. "For we were saved by hope, but hope being not seen is not hope. For what anyone sees, why does he still hope? But if we hope for what we do not see, through patience we wait eagerly," right? So that's what it does. Pain builds patience and brings us to strength on the other side. Drop down to verse 28. "But we know that to the ones loving Elohim, all things work together for good, for those being called according to purpose. And he knew them in advance, and he sealed them with the likeness of the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn of many brothers. But whom he marked in advance, these he also called, and whom he called, these he also justified, and whom he justified, these he also glorified. What then shall we say to these things? If Yahweh be for us, who can be against us? Truly he who did not spare his own Son, but gave him up on behalf of us all, how will he not freely give all things to us with him? Who will bring any charge against the elect of Elohim? Yahweh is the one justifying. Who is he condemning? It is Messiah who has died, but rather also raised, who also is at the right hand of Yahweh, who also makes intercession on our behalf. Who will separate us from the love of Messiah? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword, right? Will any pain separate us from Yahweh? No way. Even it has been written, for your sake we are killed all the day. We are counted as lambs for the slaughter. The more we lose physically, the more we gain spiritually. But in all these things we are more than conquerors through him loving us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor cherubs, nor rulers, nor armies, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other thing created will be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh and Messiah Yeshua, our Master. Right? So wow, that's powerful. Once you pass the other side of pain to strength, nothing can harm you. So that's why you see how opposite they are. And like I said, in the kingdom, there will be no more pain. There will be no more pain. There will only be strength. Hebrews 11:32 through 40. Hebrews 11:32 through 40. Look at the pain that our brethren went through, the early believers. Look at the pain, the suffering they went through, but they got to strength on the other side. Hebrews 11, verse 32.